Okay, so what I want to do is give you a little overview of Canvas, and some of you may be familiar with Canvas already, which is great. You will see some things today that you may not be as familiar with, or that you may be familiar with, but not familiar with how we use them at Champlain. If you've never seen Canvas before, this is also intended to be kind of a whirlwind tour. We do not expect that you will come out of this session a Canvas expert. We offer one-on-one coaching services. We offer asynchronous resources on our website. If you don't remember anything coming out of this except knowing that there are certain things you need to do, that's totally fine. If you remember everything that you heard, that's also great, but you can always follow up with this. And on the screen right now, you'll see the email address for the CLT, and you can just email us. That will create a request, and we'll be able to help you set up an appointment or answer your questions as quickly as possible. That would put you in touch with me or Rebecca or some of our allies across campus who help us out. So, what is Canvas? During this session, we're going to go over several different things: the basics of what's Canvas, what Canvas is like for students and what it looks like from a student point of view, and why they value it. Then we'll look at what the same Canvas course looks like for an instructor and what your Canvas course will look like when you open that up for the first time. We'll go over the requirements for using Canvas at Champlain, the things that the institution requires faculty to do. And I'll show you how to do one of those things that's a building block, just to familiarize you with that. And then we'll go over briefly what services and help is available for you as you get your course set up. There will be time at the end for Q&A, but if you're concerned about forgetting your question while I'm talking, you can just throw it in the chat. I will not be watching the chat the entire time. So Kelly, if you feel like you need to interrupt me because there's important questions in the chat, please do so. And there will be a couple points where I ask for questions midstream, and please do feel free to unmute yourself and just ask. Again, I can't see you, so raising your hand is not really necessary. Okay, so to start out, what is Canvas? Canvas is a learning management system, or an LMS. And this is a category of things that are cloud-based and are sometimes called an online classroom. So you may be more familiar with something like Brightspace, Blackboard, Moodle, Google Classroom. There are a number of different brands that exist out there. And if you have children in school, you may have seen them. If you have yourself been in school recently, you may also be familiar with one of those. A learning management system is a platform for distributing digital materials, for collecting and grading assignments, for communicating grades to your students using a gradebook, other forms of communication like emailing a class, making an announcement to a class, and for hosting certain types of activities, which depending on the system might include things like online quizzes, take-home tests, discussion forums, and even video conferencing within the system. So every course at Champlain has a Canvas shell that is generated. And when you log into Canvas for the first time and go to your courses, you'll be able to see the shells that have been generated for you and work on those. And right before the semester starts, students are added to the Canvas shells for all of their courses, so they will have access to those as well. Okay, I do see in the chat that somebody can see the slides on the screen, but when you click the slides link, you need to request access. You'll need to log in to Google with your Champlain credentials for this to work. So this is shared with everybody who is logged in with their Champlain credentials. If you can't make it work right now, just hang on to the link and you can look at it later when you are logged in that way. Okay, so thinking about Canvas for students. We're going to look in just a second at a sample Canvas course. So this is a model course, not a current course with real students in it, using a tool called Student View. And we'll check out specifically how students encounter the syllabus page, which has a lot of important navigational information, how they turn stuff in, and how they find their grades. So let's switch to that real quick. All right. So we're now looking at this sample course, and you can see this is what the Canvas interface will look like when you log into it. I'm going to enter student view here. We'll talk in a minute about what that means. And I'm going to beg your forgiveness to ignore this broken image link, which just started showing up. When a student is logged into Canvas, they will always have this menu on the left, which you will also have, that allows you to navigate Canvas as a system. And the most important things to point out here are this courses tab, which will allow you to see all the courses in which you are enrolled as an instructor or as a student for some training materials. I'll point out the inbox here on the left. That allows you to access direct messages that you may have received from your students. And then the help button down here, which will pop up, I'll show you real quick, a list of ways that you can contact Canvas for technical support. So this is something students see, and this is also something that you will see. Right now, within this course, we're looking at what students would see in this class, and we are on the page called syllabus, using this navigation here on the left, this list of items. And the syllabus page is an important piece of Canvas because it allows you to create content and display that to students. And it also has certain what I'll call widgets, pieces that work automatically that really help students stay organized and help them understand how their course is going to work. So on the syllabus page, typically you'll include a link to your course syllabus, which will be uploaded as a document. Your course will automatically include some of this stuff about Champlain policies and resources like tutoring. And then this material at the bottom, the course summary, is something that Canvas creates by collecting all the assignments in the course and then displaying to students what are the assignments and when are they due. And this is a really important piece for students to navigate the course. The other piece that's important here that's automatically generated is the assignment group weighting, which shows students how their course will be evaluated. And that's something that we'll talk more about later as well. I want to show you two other things from the student view, just so you understand how students experience this. And those are the assignments area and the grade book. So if we click on assignments on the left, what students will see here is, again, a little bit of a different list of all the stuff that's due to them. It's not organized strictly by date, like the course summary. And from this point, they can click on any announcement, any assignment, get the instructions for completing that assignment. And if it's something that they submit online, they'll be able to submit it from there. The other piece I want to show you real quick is the grade book. So for students, when they click on grades, they will see everything that has been assigned, whether they've turned it in, and if it's been graded, they'll see their score. And then this grade book will track how they're doing in the class so far. And students really rely on this tool. And they really appreciate it when instructors grade promptly and make sure that those grades get into Canvas quickly, because then they can, track this. And for many of us who went to college a while ago, we kind of got used to keeping track of their own grades. Students don't tend to do that. They tend to really rely on this tool for that information. Okay, so that's the basics of what students are going to come to Canvas looking for. I want to show you some interesting information about how students use Canvas that we collected last year. And I want to thank Ellen and Josh for collecting this information and then putting it together and presenting it. This slide actually came from a provost forum that was held this fall. And after remote learning, what the college asked, one of the things the college asked students, surveyed students about, is how Canvas impacted their learning. And the data that we got was really interesting because we found that Canvas was extremely important to students. And the things that mattered the most to them here have to do with organization and clarity. They have to do with being able to go into Canvas and find out really quickly, what do I have to do and when is it due? To find the readings that they need to do and when they need to do them by, and to be able to see their grades. So we don't need to go through all of these in detail, but I do want to highlight that the single most important thing to students was having their assignments posted in Canvas with the due dates. And that's something that we're going to stress in this overview today. Okay, so having seen what Canvas looks like for a student, what does it look like for faculty? In a second, we're going to go back into that Canvas course we were just looking at. And we're going to look at it as an instructor would see it instead of how a student would see it. I'm going to show you the same things, the same links that we went to on the left, the syllabus, the assignments, and the grade book, and how those look for instructors, because you have some editing functions that, of course, students don't have. And then we'll also look at the modules real quick so that you can see what modules are, since that's something that it's an optional piece, but it's something we highly encourage. There are other functions of Canvas that we're not going to go over today, like quizzes and discussion forums. And if those are things that you want to use, that's a great reason to make an appointment with us, and we can do a demo specifically of that if it applies to your course. After I show you these pieces in the sample course, we'll open up basically a clean shell, right? An empty shell that will look exactly how your course will look when you come into it the first time, so you can see what's already there and what's not there. All right. Back to Canvas. If at any point, by the way, you're not seeing what I say that you should be seeing, please do sing out in the chat, and Kelly, please let me know if there's a technical difficulty going on. Okay, so we're back in the course. We're headed back to the syllabus page here. And this is what this course looks like for an instructor. And before we go too far, I want to explain what this student view thing is that we were just in. Up here in the upper right-hand corner of your course, there's a button that says Student View, and clicking that button is what lets you toggle into seeing what a sample student, a hypothetical student, would see in your course. The default view for you as the instructor is the instructor view with all your editing options. And the reason this is important, as you'll see in a second, is that the instructor can see stuff that students can't see. And that might include things you've created but haven't published yet, that you might want students to see. And so checking student view is an important way to figure out if you've actually published everything you want students to see, or if there's stuff that you think they can see, but maybe they can't. Looking at this syllabus page, we can see that we still have the same components. One thing that we have that's different is this edit button up here. And most things in Canvas will have an edit button near the upper right. So we're going to click on that, not because we're going to edit this syllabus right now, but because I just want you to see what the editing tools look like. Let me widen the screen a little bit there. Okay, so everything that you can create on Canvas, assignment prompts, discussion prompts, quiz questions, things like that, they all use this same kind of set of editing tools. And in these tools, you can do almost everything that you could do in Google Docs, say, plus some other stuff. So this is something I encourage you to look at and play with on your own, but be aware that it does have text formatting options. It has options to insert images and make them accessible to students who are using a screen reader. It has the option to embed videos from a source like YouTube or Panopto. It can link out to Google Drive items, all kinds of interesting stuff. If you have any confusion about it, come and see us. But you are able to come in here, edit, add a link to your syllabus, upload files, things like that. Again, this is a bird's eye view of what the editing tools look like. That's it. By the way, what I'm doing right now to widen or shrink the screen, this menu up here, if you click on these three lines, it will hide or show this left-hand menu. My screen's quite narrow, so that's why I'm doing that. So here on the syllabus page, again, you're going to see all the same stuff that students might see, but you may also see things in this list in the course summary that students cannot see if they're unpublished. Let's take a second and look at the assignments area so that we can see more of what that publishing and unpublishing means. So we're jumping into assignments using this menu on the left. And you can see here that we've got this long list of assignments, and these are all things that I created in this course. So when you open your course, there will not be any assignments in it. And you can see that some of them have this circle with the green circle with a check mark in it, and some of them have a circle with a line through it that's blank. And this is what tells you that something is published or unpublished. If it has the green check mark, it's published. If it has the circle with the line through it, it's not published. And students will not know that unpublished things exist. And this is important to keep in mind when you're creating assignments, that if you're creating something and it's unpublished, not only can students not see the prompt and interact with it, they actually don't know that it's a thing that's going to affect their grade. This is something where if you have concerns about that, we can talk about it individually, but I do recommend creating at least the item for the assignment well in advance, putting a due date on it and publishing it so that students know that it exists, even if you add the assignment description later. You'll also notice as we're looking through this list of assignments that they are in groups. And these groups are basically a tool for weighting your grade. So when you put assignments in groups, you can assign a number, like here, this group is 55% of the total. That means 55% of the total grade. And Canvas will calculate the grade within that group and then calculate the total grade based on the percentages assigned to the groups. And that is something that students will be able to see. They'll be able to see how the grade weighting works. So it's important to assign that in advance. When we talk about gradebook setup as an important part of getting your Canvas course ready, what we mean is creating these assignment groups and assigning percentages to them, and then starting that process of putting stuff in them so that the gradebook, when students look at it, they can tell what they're going to be graded on and what things are going to count more or count less over the course of the semester. So that's how assignments looks to instructors. In a few minutes, I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like to actually create an assignment. But I want to talk a little bit more about what you're going to see in here and why, from a Champlain requirements point of view, the assignments are important. The next thing I want to show you, comparing to what students see, is the gradebook. Now, in the student view, we saw that each individual student would see a list of all the assignments that they turned in, whether they turned it in or not, what their score was, if it had been graded, and then how their grade was progressing. For you as an instructor, you don't see that. What you will see is a grid here, and right now I don't have sufficient students for you to see the whole grid, but you would see a gradebook grid here with a line for each student. And then any grades that you had assigned them would appear in these boxes, and you'd be able to track the progress of their grade and how it affects the different weighted grading groups, and then the total over here on the far right. So if you need to have a bird's eye view of grading for your entire class, you go to this grades item and you'll see the grade book. You can also edit grades directly from this page. For example, if you're just grading based on completion and you want to assign 10 points because you know that something was turned in, which is not something we necessarily recommend for anything except, say, journal entries, you would be able to come in here, click on the dash, and just assign a point value. So that's the basic gist of the grade book here. And I apologize for not being able to show you a grade book with students and grades in it. That's a privacy concern that we are not able to do that. The last thing I want to show quickly from the instructor point of view is modules. So I mentioned modules before. Modules are a really cool tool. It's not required by the college that you use them, but they are a way to take content that you have created in other areas of the course and organize it in a way that students can follow easily. And so in this, right now we're looking at modules from an instructor point of view. So you can see that there's unpublished and published things here, things students would and wouldn't see. This course sorted its information and assignments by unit, right? So this course had 3 5-week units and it's organized by unit. What we typically recommend is doing something like that if your course is pretty tight in terms of how much material is in Canvas, or if you have a lot of stuff, to create a module for each week. And you'll see that in this module, we've got things with different icons over here on the left. So anything with a paperclip is a file. So those are readings. Anything that's got this, document with a pencil icon, that's an assignment that students would need to complete. And anything with a link is a link elsewhere on campus. So this is basically a way that students can look at the course and say, okay, here's everything I have to read this week. Here's everything I have to turn in this week. And they can encounter that in a way that's really organized to them. And if you remember those statistics that I was showing before, that organization and clarity is something that they really cite as being essential to their learning. And that's what you can do with modules. So let's switch for a moment. Having looked at this course that's already built out, I want to show you what your course will look like when it's not built out, when you see it for the first time. And some of you I know have already been working in your courses, and so you've imported a past course. And if you don't know what I mean by that, importing a past course would happen if you spoke to your program director and they said, we want you to teach this exact course, and we have an old version of it, and you can import it into your course and build based on that. That is a little bit of a different situation. But if you don't have a past course, what you'll see when you log in the first time is this.
Caroline, excuse me for interrupting, but we did have a question in the module. So before you go, or excuse me, in the chat, before you go any further, would you be willing to back that up just a little bit and click on one of those?
On the content, sorry, can you clarify what the question is?
Sure, sorry, let me open it up. Could you please click on a content link so we can see how they look and how things are attached?
Okay, so let me just clarify here. We have this paperclip icon. It's not an attachment like an email. It is a file. And the files, so PDF files like this will open within Canvas because they are uploaded in Canvas. Students will have the option to download that file onto their device, but they will also be able to look at it as a reading in here. You can see that because of, depending on your screen size, again, my screen's pretty small, reading in Canvas could be really annoying. So a lot of people do choose to download it, but the file is right there. It has, you know, zoom in, zoom out tools, things like that. For other types of content that are linked from the module, like a link, for example, well, I can't show you that link, that's a special case. Like a link will just take you out to that resource on the page that it comes from. So this is taking us to Time Magazine. So it really depends on what the item is. That's the short answer to that question. And if you have questions about how to upload files, we can refer you to a resource from Canvas, their instructions on how to do this, or we can demonstrate that for you as well. It's just something that doesn't fit into our timetable for this discussion today. Does that answer the question? I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay, so coming back over here to the blank shell, when you open up your course for the first time, you'll be defaulted to the syllabus page, and this is what you'll see. You'll see the college logo, a prompt to upload your syllabus, which is a really simple process of entering the editor, highlighting the text that you want to turn into a link, and then using the link tools to add a file. If this is something that you want help with, again, we can demo that, or I can provide you an article that will explain it as well. You'll see here, unlike the example we were just looking at, there's a semester calendar, which is just a great reminder for you and your students. And then the information that we saw in the past course about smart space tutoring and resources and policies. This is something that the college puts into every course, and you should leave it there. You should not delete that piece from your course, because these policies are mandatory. They're mandatory that they be included in every course. And you'll see here that we have the heading for the course summary, and there's nothing in it. We have the assignment groups over here that show course weighting, and they're set to 0%. That's just because this course is blank. And so when you go into an area like assignments, for example, again, it will be blank. And to add your first assignment, you'll use this button over here. We'll talk in a minute about how to add assignments. So that's what you're going to be encountering. Don't be alarmed when you go into your course and you don't see something like that, that built out course we were looking at before. Okay, so what's next? I want to talk a little bit about Canvas requirements and practices. So these are things that either the college has required or that we really strongly recommend you do. What the college requires for Canvas as basics are that you post your syllabus, and that means posting it by uploading a file or by creating it as text, like on that syllabus page. We ask that you do not link to a Google document because part of the point of having the syllabus in Canvas is to have a record of syllabi from past courses, which is really important to the registrar. The college also requires that you have your grade book set up so that you can update it regularly. And that assignments are posted in Canvas as well. The college rule about that is that they need to be posted 48 hours in advance. We strongly recommend posting them with due dates much further in advance so that students can plan ahead. And then you do need to keep that grade book updated. If somebody, a longtime Champlain staff member, maybe Rebecca or Josh or Ellen, could throw the link to the 2022 spring course standards into the chat so that people can refer to that later if they want to, that would be great. So when we look at these requirements and recommended practices, setting up the grade book and posting your assignments, both of those things rely on being able to create an assignment. And I'm going to show you really quickly how we do that, how we create an assignment. So let's go back to our sample course, not the blank course, sample one. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create an assignment, and I'm just going to start with this blue button here that says plus assignment. We open that up and you'll see an editor just like the one I showed you on the syllabus page before. You'll find this editor across Canvas. And you'll create a title and description for your assignment. I'm not going to write a whole description in here right now because description goes here because we don't have time to do that. But this is where you'll create that. What I really want to show you is the options that you have here below for setting up things like due dates, point values, and then I'll mention assignment groups briefly. So right now, this is defaulting to options that I've used before in this course, but your first task will be to set your assignment's point value to whatever you want it to be. And depending on how you're weighting grading, that might change, but I recommend that for demonstration purposes, we just go with 100 points. Assignment groups. So as I mentioned before, the assignment groups are batches of assignments that go together and they're weighted together. So Canvas uses them to calculate grades. If you have already created assignment groups before you make your this assignment, you would be able to select them here. But when you're creating your first assignment, you probably don't have any assignment groups. So you would create an assignment group here that it will land in. Then I want to skip down thinking about submission type. You have some options here. So if you are creating an assignment that would be a student's participation grade, which you should do, because if you want the participation grade to go into the grade book, there needs to be an assignment so that the grade book will know that that's coming. That would be an assignment with no submission. You could have an assignment that is submitted on paper. We tend not to recommend that because it makes grading and returning things a little more complicated. You can have an assignment that's submitted with an external tool in certain cases, but many assignments will be just submitted online. And when you select submit online, you'll get a certain set of options about what kinds of submissions you'll accept, whether that's a website URL, whether you want the students to literally just enter text in Canvas, or whether you want them to do a file upload, which is really common if you're having them submit something like a reflection essay or homework that they need to do in, say, a Word document. So you have, these options that you can select from. We recommend leaving submission attempts unlimited because sometimes, especially if you have file uploads, because sometimes students will paste the wrong link or upload the wrong file, and they want to be able to quickly change, oh, wait, I uploaded the wrong thing 2 minutes ago. Here's the right one. And they'll be able to leave you a comment about that. So leaving this unlimited is great. Plagiarism review. I recommend you come and talk to us about this. We do have a plagiarism review tool called Turnitin that will do an automated scan of, say, a paper for things that are copied from the internet. If you don't want that turned on, you can leave it as none. If you do want it turned on, you can select Turnitin. We're going to skip this group assignment peer review stuff and look at this box down here that says assign. The basic function of the assign box is to set due dates. And so you want to click here on this calendar, and then you would just be able to say, this assignment's going to be due on January 28th, for example, and it will default to 11:59 p.m., but you're able to change that if you prefer. These other two dates here, available from and until, allow you to constrain the window of time in which students can actually interact with this assignment. So these are not due dates and they are optional. But if you wanted to say only allow students to submit late work up to 3 days after the due date, you can set an until date that will do that. So then you would click save. Clicking save only is basically save draft. Save and publish is save and publish. And this will take you back to the description of the assignment where you'll be able to see what due date you set, how you had students submit it, and what the point value is. Now, when I go back to the assignments area, I will see that in the assignment group that I created, which is called sample, and that assignment group is worth 0% of the total. So I would need to come in here and adjust these assignment group values. I won't go too far into that right now, but I will tell you that you can do it by clicking on this menu with 3 dots at the right, clicking edit, and then you would be able to set a percentage of the total grade. What's very important is that all the percentages for these assignment groups add up to 100%, and you don't have assignment groups sitting there that don't have anything in them, because that will cause confusion for students. Okay, I know that was a lot of information to see that demo real quick, but I wanted to make sure that you saw it just as a reference point, because getting your gradebook set up, which is a requirement of the college, depends on creating these assignments and assignment groups. And speaking of requirements, one thing that will happen early in the semester, and this is just fair warning, is a thing called the gradebook check. And this is a semi-automated check that scans all the courses at the college to make sure that they all have a syllabus uploaded and a grade book that's set up and adds up to 100%. And if there's an issue with your course, you will receive an email that says, hey, there's a problem with your grade book. And if you do get an email like that, this is not blame. This does not mean you are doing your job wrong. It means, hey, there's a technical issue in your course. And we recommend that you email clt@champlain.edu if you see a message like that, so that we can help you get it fixed. And having that set up correctly is really, the best way to serve your students. Okay. We are going to do questions in just a second, but I want to show you a couple more things, which are how you can get support for some of this confusing stuff. And there are a couple of different sources that you can reach out to for issues with your Canvas account and logging in. For coaching on course setup, which would be one-on-one meeting with somebody like me or Rebecca from the CLT, or potentially someone from academic technology or information systems, or a faculty peer. And then self-service resources for those times when you find yourself having a Canvas issue at 2 o'clock in the morning and when nobody will be answering the phone at Champlain. So who to go to? If you are having trouble getting into your Canvas account, you need to email Champ Support. Champ Support is the main technical support line for the college, and they will be able to forward your message to a person who can actually get your account set up correctly. That's something that the CLT does not have the capability to do. If you want coaching on setup or help building out your course, your primary resource is us. Email clt@champlain.edu, which will open up a special kind of support request, and we'll be able to match you with somebody who can coach you as quickly as possible. If you're interested in seeing a past version of the course, so how another professor taught this course, in that case, you should reach out to your program director and ask them if there's a sample course they can show you. The CLT is not able to share past curriculum, but once you do have access to that, we can help you adapt it. Then self-service resources, those are available to you, both things that we have created at Champlain and things that Canvas, as in the company Instructure that runs Canvas, has made available online. So our resources that we've created are materials on the CLT website, which is clt.champlain.edu, and select Canvas tutorials from the main menu, and you'll get a whole bank of tutorials on how to do different things in Canvas. On the CLT homepage, there is a button, if you scroll down, that says Quick Start Semester Prep. And that's also a great place to start looking for resources, not just on Canvas, but also on things like preparing your syllabus. If it really is 2 o'clock in the morning and you can't find what you need on the CLT website and you are desperate, we do have a solution for that. And that is Canvas has a 24/7, 365-day-a-year support line, which you can call by phone. Or if you click that help button in Canvas on the left-hand side that I showed you earlier, you'll see the phone number there, and you'll also see a link to do a live text chat with a Canvas representative. At certain times of year, they may be slow, but at other times, sort of in the middle of the semester, they may be very quick to answer your request. They also have self-service instructor guides on their website that are minutely detailed. And we do recommend those for very specific things when you know exactly what you want to do. When you're getting started, you may have an easier time starting out by going to the CLT website and looking for the introductory resources there, which will refer you out to specific stuff. It's a little easier to navigate. Okay, I'm done talking at you. Any questions that you'd like to confer about? And I'll switch back to the Zoom call so I can actually see you.
Caroline, there's a couple of questions in the chat.
Yeah.
One says, how are discussions linked in as an assignment? How are discussions linked in as an assignment? And then there's a question, where do we find Canvas and log in? How do we locate our shells?
Okay, I'm going to answer the second question first. The way you get to Canvas to log in is you go to champlain.instructure.com, and I'm putting that in the chat right now. And if you go to champlain.instructure.com, you will be prompted to log in with your Champlain account, and then that will take you into Canvas. Then you'll click on courses in that left-hand menu, and you'll see all the sections that you're teaching. If you are not able to log in to Canvas that way, that's when you should email champsupport@champlain.edu, and they will be able to help you with your account. Rebecca, what was the first question? Discussions?
Yes.
Yes. How are discussions linked in as an assignment? So I'm not still sharing my screen, am I?
No.
Good. Okay. So discussions are a little bit different from an assignment. You can have a discussion that is graded or ungraded. And if it's an ungraded discussion, it will not affect the grade book at all. If you want to have a discussion that's graded, when you create that discussion, you'll set it as a graded discussion, and then it will show up in the assignments page, and you can put it in an assignment group. And it will also show up in the grade book. You'll give it a point value and all of that. Does that answer that question?
Yes, so I don't have to build it from the assignment page per se. I build it from discussion and then it links over.
Yeah, let me show you exactly where you would go for that.
But it will still show up for the students as a to-do, right?
Right. So what will happen, I'm going to share my screen again so I can show you exactly what we're looking at here. Okay, are y'all seeing my Canvas course again? I can't see any thumbs up. Somebody say yes or no verbally, please.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So when you create a discussion in the left menu, you'll go to this discussions option, which we didn't tour before just because not that many people are using discussions at this point. You'll click the plus discussion button here, which will eventually get a reaction out of Canvas. You'll create your prompt as you would for an assignment, and then you just have a different set of options here right now. So discussions default to ungraded, but if you click this graded button here, this checkbox, you'll get a different set of options which look like the ones in the assignment, where you can set a point value, you can put it in an assignment group, and you set a due date. If you want your discussions to be ungraded, but you want them to show up with a due date in the course summary, you can use this add to student to do item here, and that will create, a date, a to-do date in the course summary. It's essentially the same thing as a due date. This is just what Canvas calls it if it's not grading it. And then once you've created that, I'm just going to create one as an example. Once you've created that and given it an assignment group and saved it, When you go over to assignments, Canvas is not usually this slow, by the way. It does not like running at the same time as a video call. When you go over to assignments, it will appear in the appropriate assignment group, and you can see it has a different icon. It has a chat bubbles icon instead of this document icon. So that's how it plays with graded assignments.
Thank you. And then it will still appear in the grid where I give it a point or whatever.
Yeah, so in the grade book, where'd my grade book go? In the grade book, you will, thank you. It's there.
Okay. Okay.
It would just take a minute to find it, but it is there, and you would assign a point value there or from the discussion itself.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Caroline, we are at time. I'm going to invite people to go ahead and take a break. But before you throw the slide up that invites people to take a break, we did have one more question that is about can we have a sandbox course while they're building? So those of you who are ready to go take your break, please take a break and be back at 3:15. And then for Deb, maybe stay on for just a minute and Caroline can answer that question.
I want to answer Deb's question, but the question, I'm not sure who this is from at the end of the chat, is really simple answer. And I'm going to answer that first. How do you import your student list into the grade book? The simple answer is you don't. The Friday before classes start, your students will be added to your course automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. It will just happen. Deb's question, can we sandbox the course while we're building it? I want to clarify exactly what you mean, Deb. If you mean, can you make the course so students can't see it while you're working on it? The answer is they are not in it until the Friday before the course starts, so they would not see it. As soon as they're put in it, it is published and they will see it. If by sandbox you mean, can you have a space to build things and experiment that is not the actual course, from which you could then import things into the actual course, that it is possible to do that, and you should email clt@champlain.edu and we can set you up. Does that answer that question?
Yes, and as long as, so I can be uploading my syllabus and all that, but they're not looking at it till the Friday before.
Exactly. Yeah, students get added the Friday before, so that's not, it's a week from tomorrow, and they usually get added like mid-afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions from people who are still here and not on break? All right, thanks everybody.